Hello everyone. So in this lecture we are going to implement the remaining functionality for our profile screen, which is of the profile image. So in order to do that we are going to use a library called glide, and so let's get started. So first off we need to um, import that library into our project. So basically this library would help us in handling the images within our app. So let's open the build.gradle and the one for the app folder. So right after we have this multi-dex, we need to add implementation on com.github.bumptech.glide glide 4.11.0 and annotation processor com.github.bumptech.glide compiler 4.11.0. So the version that you may use could differ depending on when you are watching this video, so that should be fine and it should still work. And just to highlight, we write a comment that these two are for handling the images, and we also need one more library to be added um, for a circular progress bar, which we would use inside our image view. So we need to have implementation Android X dot swipe refresh layout colon swipe refresh layout colon 1.1.0, and let's sync it. Okay, so our project has synced and all these libraries should be available to us now. So let's get started with using them. So we come back to our profile activity, and first thing that we need to use is we create a variable to hold our image URL, and we also need to have a reference for the image view that we have. So private image view photo IV for our photo image view, and here we can get the value id or .id photo IV, and now in our method of populate profile info, what we can do is we need to check with textutils dot is empty for user dot get image URL, If it is not empty, then we set the value to user.get image URL, and we need to so basically we need a method to populate this new image URL that we have received. And what we can do is we can create a sort of generic method in our utility class. So this would be like public static void populate image, and what this would take is context and then string URI. Okay, let's import it. Then the image view in which to load the image, and finally an error drawable which we would use as a fallback. So I didn't give the image view variable, right? Let's just format this class by pressing command option L, and we need to check first if context is not null. Then what we can do is we create request options from the glide library. Request options equals new request options dot placeholder, and we leave it empty for now. Then set the error as error drawable, and finally we do glide dot with this context dot load the URI, or to please say dot URI dot apply to options, or the request options dot into the image view that we supply. Now we need to get a placeholder as well. So what we can do is create another method, private static circular progress drawable, and progress drawable context circular progress drawable is circular progress drawable with context, and within this drawable we need to set certain elements. Set stroke width to maybe 5f, drawable dot set center radius to 30 float, then drawable dot start, and finally we return this drawable. And this progress drawable is what we need to pass in this placeholder for the given context. Right. So this populate image method becomes a generic one, and we would be using it in multiple places going forward. So back to our profile activity, and we can just call that populate image method. As a context, we pass this. For string URI, we have the image URL. Image view would be the photo IV, and finally the error drawable would be r.id. What do we have here? Default, not id actually, the drawable is what we need. R.drawable dot default user green. Right, so this should populate our image. Now we need to actually upload the image before we can have it populated. Okay, so the functionality we want is whenever the user clicks on that image, we would ask for a new image to be set as profile image and upload it. So in order to do that, what we do is photo iv dot on click listener. We add a on click listener, and new view dot on click listener, and within this we define a new intent equals to a new intent with intent dot action pick and intent dot set type to be equal to image slash star, and we start activity for result with this intent. And the request code, we need a request code for this, and we would define that in the constants file that we have as public static final int request code photo equals, and we can give any number we want. So this would basically just identify the request of selecting that image, and we use we use this code over here. So once the user has selected an image for the profile, and when we return back from this, so we would get back to somewhere here maybe, right, or just on activity result. And it would be int request code comma int result code comma variable intent data. So once the user has selected the image for profile, we will end up with the result over here. And the first thing we do is super dot on activity result with request code result code and the data, and if the result code is same not the result code, just the activity dot result okay, and the request code is same as the constant that we had defined for our request code photo, then we call a method store image data dot get data, and we will just create this method like this, in which we would write image URI not equal to null. Okay, not the image URL actually, so this should be image URI not equal to null, and so what we need to do is update image and then store in the DB. So DB means the Firebase storage here. So first off, we make a text, a toast for uploading, just to inform the user that we are doing something, and progress layout dot set visibility visible, and we need a storage reference also, so that would be we can define somewhere here as private storage reference. What is this? Firebase storage ref equals Firebase storage dot get instance dot get reference. So once we have this reference, we are going to use it not here but here. Okay, progress layout. So storage reference is firepath equals firebase storage ref dot child constants dot data images. We don't have images, just let me just create one more here. So I just copy images and I would call it images. So we have it over here, data images, dot child and the user ID. Just format it. File path dot put file and image URI dot add on success listener. So we have task snapshot where we have file path dot get download URL. So basically here we are uploading the file and to the Firebase storage and then getting the download URL for that file, and if we have uploaded, like received the download URL successfully, then new on success listener of URI, what we do is So string URL equals URI dot toString, and we need to store this URL into our profile data. So we fetch the collection constants dot data users dot document of that user ID dot update, and we need to update the data data image URL with this URL, and once it is successfully updated, new unsuccess listener. So we have the image URL equals URL, and we need to populate this image into our image view basically. So profile activity, and we have the image URL comma photo IV comma r dot driver dot default user green. So this one is done. All success is finished for this one, and dot add on failure listener. So or what we can do is we have this. So let's try to do a little bit of refactoring here by extracting a method out of this. Let's call it this. So we have this refactored method over here, which will display a text message for failure cases. So we can use this on upload failure with image upload failed, please try again later. And once this finish this. Once this is done, promise layout dot visibility to gone, and over here also we need a on failure listener, and basically pretty much the same thing like this. Just copy paste. So this is done. Right, this looks good, and I guess this should work. Let's just try to run it. Okay, so the app has launched. Let's go to the profile section and just see the logs. Right, now we just click on this image and something is broken. Let me retry. Okay, can only use low 16 bit for request code, so looks like the request code we are using is maybe not acceptable. Let's just try to reduce the length and build and run it again. Right, so this is launched again. Let's see. Okay, so now it's asking us to select a photo. Well, I don't have any. Let's download some. So I paused the video and downloaded some images, and now they are showing in my download folder here. So let's select one of them, maybe this one. Now as you could see, like it was uploading, and yep, now we see this circular spinner, and the image is available to us now. So that that's it. I guess we are now able to upload or set our profile images. We just go back and we can see the image again. So that's it for this lecture. Or just we just check the database as well. We go to storage, and in here we see this folder was created and this image was uploaded, and indeed it is the same image. So we have successfully uploaded our images, a profile image, and that's it for this lecture, and I'll see you in the next one.